to Crossing Kin and the kind of under construction Crossing Kin
We're
garage.
calling it the Crossing Kin Construction Zone.
I'm Kristen.
I'm Randy.
And today is the last video of Star Wars month.
Sad day.
5 weeks now we've been going with our love of Star Wars, and today we wrap it up with something new to Crossing Kin that if this goes well, we might do a few more of them in the future.
Sounds good.
Today we are doing Star Wars animation versus live action.
Dun, dun, dun. Or maybe I should say,
Dun, 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 dun.
right. Or bum, 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 bum. No, sorry.
All right, so let me explain exactly how this works.
Please do, Kristen. Tell us.
We are going to look at 5 specific categories. Characters, story, quality, music, and impact. We are going to break these down across both the animation and the live action to see which Star Wars is better. Mine and Dad's machinations.
That's a relief. I was afraid we were going to have to just go straight, compare one against the other.
No, we thankfully have some categories to help us narrow it down.
Good call.
We'd be here all night if we tried to just straight up compare them. Now, there are a couple of rules here. If something, a character, an event, originally made its first appearance in a live action way, then they belong to live action. If they made their first appearance in a animated way, they belong to the animation camp. For example, Ahsoka. She has appeared in both animation and live action. In fact, pretty much everybody in Ahsoka has appeared in both animation and live action at this point.
They have at least now. Yes.
Yes, now that the Ahsoka show is out.
Right.
But all of those characters, everybody from Rebels and Clone Wars, they belong in the animation camp. Vader, however, because he's appeared in both the end of Clone Wars and Rebels, he belongs to the live action camp.
Because he was the big bad in the original trilogy.
He was a villain in the original trilogy, yes. So, everybody understand that? Where it originated is the camp it belongs in. Everybody good? Good? Grand. Let's see if we can do this. You ready, Daddy?
Okay, we really want your input too. As we go through these categories, please, in the comment section, let us know, hey, you really think maybe we might have gotten this absolutely right, or we stunk it up. Just let us know. We're happy to take your opinions and perhaps tell you how wrong you are. But we would love to have your opinions regardless.
All right, so let's get started. First off with characters. Now, this is actually probably one of the tougher bouts in our little verses here.
Not for me.
Because you've already talked about him a lot this Star Wars month. Vader is probably one of the best cinematic villains of all time.
True.
Han Solo is probably one of the best scoundrel archetype characters of all time. Leia is definitely one of the best strong female characters of all time. Now, I do admit, and Obi-Wan, both versions of him, both versions of Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Ewan McGregor, Alec Guinness, amazing in both the prequels and the sequels. So there are some very heavy hitters in the characters department.
So what I'm hearing you say is you think the live action characters...
No, my personal opinion is that the animated characters are better, but we do have to make this a proper versus.
On this, we agree. And I don't know that the characters are necessarily better, but I think there is such a broader universe in the animation that the live action hasn't explored yet, and the original film set didn't have the opportunity to do because they were an hour and a half to 2 hours long in their concept, so they couldn't really flesh out some of these characters that we have seen come about in Clone Wars, Bad Batch, Rebels.
I mean, honestly, if you guys watched our first Star Wars Month video from last year, in which we discussed our favorite characters, you already knew how this one was gonna go. My favorite character in all of Star Wars is Captain Rex, and Dad's favorite character in all of Star Wars is...
Hondo!
Both of whom made their first grand appearance in Glorious Animation, and... in my opinion, neither of whom have really crossed over into live action.
And
until we see Captain Rex's beautiful Tamara Morrison face, I don't buy that he's actually in live action. I'm
I think
salty.
it's very, very interesting that we have both chosen as our favorite characters accessory characters to the Star Wars universe. They're not
Main
prime characters.
characters.
They're not prime
Well,
characters
Rex
in
kind of takes
any
a
of it.
main character role in the 7th season of Clone Wars.
But it takes the seventh season for him to do so.
Yes, it does.
I mean, so
Which
they're
is a shame.
still accessory characters, but they, just I think, and that's the beauty of Star Wars is that both live action as well as animated. But I think very much better animated because they had the time
Hmm.
to delve into this incredibly broad universe of characters that I think animation wins out in this one.
I agree. Point 1 goes to animation. All right. Next category, story.
You can't beat the original. I mean, we wouldn't have Star Wars if it wasn't for
4, 5, and
Episode
6.
4, and 5 and 6. But if we had not had Episode 4, we would not have Star Wars. My personal
Is the
conviction,
story good though? Is the
yes.
actual
If
story
the
the
story were
tale?
not good, we wouldn't be having Star Wars month at the Crossing King Garage.
This is true. But then aren't you the one that's been talking about bridges all of Star Wars month and all the bridges and such?
No doubt, absolutely. I will buy that. But again, there would be no need for those bridges if there weren't the original story.
If it wasn't so compelling.
If it had not been so compelling in 76, we would not be continuing to talk and see TV shows, animation, books still written.
And let's talk about like a little bit more recently Star Wars history. We said a few times last year Mandalorian reinvigorated Star Wars, and Andor just lit the match even further. I
Yeah.
mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody was super excited for season 7 of Clone Wars and for the Bad Batch. But nobody was talking about the Bad Batch after Andor came about.
So I
You
think
think
we
that
would agree that
Hmm.
live action, the point goes to live action on this one. Kristen, you disagree.
I just think that don't get me wrong. I think 4, 5, and 6, and even 1, 2, and 3, if it had better dialogue, um, and to a very small extent, 7, 8, and 9, if we were just talking about the movies, no, I wouldn't give this point to live action. However, Mandalorian exists. Book of Boba Fett exists. Please go and watch my what ifs on What If I Wrote Book of Boba Fett Season 2. Those were our bonus videos for Star Wars month this year.
And certainly go see Ahsoka if you have seen Clone Wars and Rebels.
But anyway, all of these other live action shows, in my opinion, their stories are all very strong. The Obi-Wan Kenobi live action show
Right.
as well. All of them have been superbly written, in my opinion. I am aware that not everybody shares that opinion, but I come to these to enjoy myself. I don't come to them to pick apart their story.
Because of the Skywalker saga, if we had not had Episode 4 and it had not been so appealing and so engaging, and we're still talking about it today, had it just been on the strength of the live action pieces versus the animation, I think animation would win here. But you have to have the films because without the films, none of the rest of it exists.
All right, we've given the point to live action. I will concede that we kind of have to, because the story of the films is what makes the rest of it all possible. All right, up next, quality. Now let me qualify this a little
Please
bit.
do, yeah.
Quality, I'm talking about technical quality. The CGI or practical effects in the films and live action shows versus the quality of animation in the cartoons.
Let's qualify a couple of things here also. We're not necessarily talking about the reimagined digital upgrades of
No.
4, 5, and 6
Goodness,
that
no.
had all of the CGI added into
Yes,
it
no.
and a lot of the screen images cleaned up for the laser battles, for
Yeah.
the starship battles and everything.
Yeah.
Now, we're not really even talking about that. We're talking just the original material in its glorious, you can tell where we trend to go, but in its just original theatrical renditions.
Look, I will give that for its time. 4, 5, and 6 had pretty decent special effects, and their practical effects, Chewie's costume, Vader's
Oh,
costume,
without doubt. Yeah.
and a lot of the creature costumes. I mean, Jabba the Hutt in the original 6 was, and it still is. I don't think they've painted over him in anything. He was a puppet for all intents and
Well,
purposes.
let's draw that back. All of those characters need to give their credit to the life that was given to them by Jim Henson's Preacher studio. I mean, all of these things came about because Kermit the Frog was in existence.
However, some of the more digital effects, especially if you're watching the original theatrical stuff, they don't hold up. A lot. Like the practical stuff, it holds up gloriously.
Now,
A lot of the CGI, it doesn't hold up very well. And it's not its fault. Obviously, technology has progressed a lot. And let's be honest, I know Dad said we're not talking about the special editions, but even the CGI in the special editions, because
yeah,
that's all I've ever known. I've never seen the non-special edition versions. I've never seen. The version you had a lot of the like Phantom Menace
okay.
stuff added into it.
We've got the
Um
laser disc. I'll show it to you.
anyway, um a lot of the CGI, and it doesn't hold up. You can see like the green screen outline. You can tell that none of it is real. In 1, 2, and 3, it does get a little bit better. The CGI monsters in 2 are superbly
Yeah,
animated.
yeah.
And the clones, none of those clones were real, guys. None of the clones in the clone trooper armor, like there were maybe a few. If they had to come up and talk to a character, those guys were real. If they were like in the midst of something, those guys were real. If
Yeah.
they were close to the screen, those guys were real. If they were in the background, those guys were animated because let's be honest, we were not going to put Tamara Morrison in 5 million different locations
However,
to
we
get
did
those
put
filmed.
Daniel Craig in one of them.
Yeah, but that's in 7, 8, and 9.
That's true. That's later. He's
But
still a trooper.
but then again, come forward to 7, 8, and 9, and I mean, some of the CGI in 9 is
It
not
really,
very good.
right. It
I mean,
for the
some
time period we are in right now,
9 should have had much better effects than it did. Like
9
just
should have had a lot of things
the
much better than it did.
like even the effects on Clone Palpatine, it's like an uncanny valley.
Yeah.
And you can tell the uncanny valley. Rogue One, that's also something I have a little bit against Rogue One because the uncanny valley with both Tarkin and Leia. I know that's not Tarkin. I know that's not Leia. So seeing the young faces, and let's be honest, the CGI is very plain there.
Mm-hmm.
So it is just, it's a little uncanny valley, and that's creepy. The uncanny valley is creepy.
Okay, so where do you fall on the verses in this one?
See, here's the thing I have against the animation. In we talked about
In the beginning, the animation was crappy.
rough,
It was
and that's
bad.
putting it gently.
Now, let's put it where it belongs. This was a Cartoon Network production.
Yes.
Originally a Cartoon Network production. I loathe Cartoon Network's original productions. They have messed up more of my childhood and made them freakish nightmares than anything else that has ever occurred.
You okay?
Rant over.
But anyway, let's also make a point that this was in 2008. The kind of animation that Clone Wars in particular, because again, 2008, none of the others had come out yet.
Right.
That Clone Wars used was very new. Like there was still a lot of 2D animated shows, so the 3D model animation was still fairly new. Even Disney was just really beginning to play with the 3D model animation. And as the seasons progressed, by I want to say it was by like the end of season 2, the animation got great. By the time we got to season 4, the animation was phenomenal. And like specifically, I think it's season 5, the Umbara arc.
Mm-hmm.
All of the darkness and everything. Krell is I hate him with all my heart, but he is an animation masterpiece.
He's a triumph. He
He's
really is.
beautifully
Yeah.
animated. And season 7 of Clone Wars, the animation on Rex during those last 4
Right.
episodes, the animation on Ahsoka, the animation of the crash, all of the explosions, like all of the animation is so good at the end of Clone Wars. Now Rebels has a very different animation style. And while I like it fine, it's not extraordinary. It's very simple. Disney, I don't think, believed very strongly in Rebels, so
And
they
you can
didn't
tell.
give it the strongest of budgets. Like Dad, I believe, has said it was on Disney XD. And none of the Disney XD shows had huge budgets.
Right. They
All
did.
of the Disney XD shows had bare bones budgets.
They were made for profit.
Yes. But look at Bad Batch. You can talk all you want about Bad Batch's consistency as far as storyline. People complain that there are a bunch of filler episodes. Whatever, I don't care. I love Bad Batch. The animation on Bad Batch is some of the most consistently good animation I have ever seen in a show.
For the Star Wars universe, it really is the pinnacle of animation.
Yes.
Of all of the things that they've done animation wise. And
Their
yes, we are a little bit biased because we
backgrounds
absolutely
alone.
love the Bad Batch.
Yes.
And we are very saddened by the fact that it only got 3 seasons.
But it went out on a
It went
huge
really,
high note.
absolutely.
We're
It
very happy
followed
with it.
it followed in the Clone Wars tradition, so to speak, that it went out in a very, very nice way. We won't spoil that for you
No.
or anything, please. But go watch all of the Bad Batch. Watch Clone Wars first so you can understand what's going on. But watch Bad Batch. So what are we saying, Kristen? Who wins this one?
I think animation wins this one. Just because here's why. Yes, it started out rough, but it didn't stay rough. It got better consistently through each season. And while yes, Mandalorian and Andor are both very good in their effects and quality department, the droids alone are amazing. I still think that, I mean, Bad Batch alone would win this point for me just because of how consistently good its animation quality was.
Sure.
And you've said yourself, the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars
are as good as anything in the Star Wars universe. Absolutely. And
I still want a supercut of those 4 episodes, with like their breaks taken out and supercut and sold to theaters. I would go see that in theaters, and it takes like $40 to go to the movies.
Don't think that you're by yourself in that. I think you make a very valid point. I'm not sure that you knew that you made it, but I think you made a very valid point. With the original film legacy, and even to a certain extent with some of the live action shows, you have seen quality start with 4, 5, and 6, kind of rough. Then you go to the prequels, and it improved greatly. And then the sequels
started a bit of a downgrade, and then we're getting back up.
We didn't consistently get better. And that's the problem I have with all of the live action things. We don't see a consistent getting better. Whereas but with animation, when you start with Clone Wars and that animation being so, well, at least initially being so rough. Yeah. But by the time you end Bad Batch now, we want more Disney. We want more Star Wars animation. Please, 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 please. Give us a Hondo Star Wars story, okay?
What's going on with Hondo?
Yeah, please. Yeah, absolutely.
Hondo. Let's make that one happen.
I don't know. But anyway.
Tales of the Pirates.
Tales of Hondo. That's how it would have to be. Right. So I think we're in agreement. Animation wins this one. Just because, and here's another point. The nature of what they've done with the animation is all computer generated. The nature of what they've done with the live action is live action with computer enhancements. And I think any time that you deviate from your original base model, you have the opportunity to see what we're seeing in not great quality, better quality, and then on not great quality again. The cycles going to and fro.
Don't get us wrong.
We love it.
We love it. And whoever the CGI peoples are,
bravo,
on any of the Star Wars films, well done. You did a great job. but sometimes some of the effects were just a little bit wonky. So
We don't see your improvement going like this. It's more of a
peaks and
wave. Yeah,
valleys.
it's more peaks and valleys. But with the animation side, it seems to be
Dave
uh,
Filoni's animation team.
just absolutely brilliant. Please keep them together for whatever you decide to do animation wise in the future. And we want more animated stories.
All right. This is probably where you and I are going to have our biggest fight.
Oh, no. We don't fight.
Music.
I have one thing to say about this. One thing to say. And one thing only. And it should be the reason why the live action wins the point. John Williams.
Okay. Listen.
And
I
everybody else who came along, I'm going to say this just like I said with episode 4. Everything else is built off of John Williams's theme.
I don't
John
agree.
freaking Williams.
Hey, look, yes, John freaking Williams is John freaking Williams, and he will always be John freaking Williams. However, there is at least 1 or 2 films where he phoned in his score. 9 and 8 are both a little phoned in my opinion. And I will link a video down in the description to tell you that I am not the only one that shares the opinion that John Williams phoned in at least 9's score.
That's not the only thing that got phoned in for episode 9.
We have discussed this at length already in Star
The
Wars.
problems with episode 9 you should not hold against John Williams.
Okay, but also,
Live
other
action.
than shush, you've not won yet. Other than the Imperial March, Duel of the Fates, and the theme song, and potentially the Force theme, can you sing any of the other songs in the score?
Yeah,
Can you?
I can.
Prove it.
I'm not going to do that on this. That's not necessary. John Williams.
I would like to point out. Shush!
No. Go to our Crossing Kin greatest composers. Who is number 1?
Also, go and check out last year's Star Wars Month video of the score of Star Wars.
Number 1, baby.
Let me talk, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Kevin Kiner. He has done
Brilliant.
the music for Ahsoka. For Ahsoka, for Clone Wars.
Didn't he do Andor?
No.
Okay.
Nope, somebody else did Andor.
Okay.
For Ahsoka, for Clone Wars, for Rebels, for Bad Batch, for pretty much everything that Dave Filoni was directly involved in. Dave Filoni, it was not directly involved in most of the live action shows except for Ahsoka because Ahsoka was his character. To my knowledge. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But, and yes, I will acknowledge that at least a couple of his scores do borrow from John Williams' score. The upbeat Imperial March in Rebels is terrifying to me because the Imperial March should never be played in, I don't know, a jaunty
faster
band,
tempo.
a jaunty band tune.
Yeah.
That is not what the Imperial March should be.
More Cantina Band from the original films than it is the Imperial March. I don't think
John Williams did that. I don't think John Williams did that. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below. Anyway, Kevin Kiner not only scored all 4, let's just go with 4, of those TV shows, he wrote scores for individual characters and kept them consistent. He made me feel more emotion during half of the shows than any of John Williams' scores ever had, aside from the first time I ever heard the opening theme in theaters, which was only for episode 7. That is the only Star Wars movie I've seen in theaters to this point. Yes, I know. I am not saying that. Stop it. Whatever that was, stop
That was
it.
J.W. John Williams.
That was not J.W.
Sure it was.
No, it wasn't. I am not saying that John Williams isn't fantastic. He is. But I think that in certain areas, Kevin Kiner has a bit of a leg up on him because he also didn't really get the luxury of reusing his score 5 million times.
I will concede the point that Kevin Kiner has done a magnificent job with specific areas of the Star Wars universe. I will also say, just like I did earlier, there would be no Kevin Kiner if it weren't for John Williams. Point live action.
No, I still disagree. I still think Kevin Kiner has contributed more music to Star Wars than John Williams.
Name the things that he's only done animation.
No, he's done a live action.
Point taken.
Ugh.
John Williams.
Characters he did live action for originated in animation.
Thank you, John Williams. Point live action.
I'm not happy about it.
Point live action. Next.
Impact.
I know where this goes too.
Cultural impact.
You would not have anything were it not for episode 4. Point live action.
I don't like it though.
You don't have to like it. You just have to concede the point. The fact that if there wasn't an episode 4 that starts out John Williams, and there wasn't a scrolling intro, there would be none of the rest of this. Point live action.
Fine. I'm not even gonna.
And here's the thing.
He's too convinced that he's correct that I can't even make an argument. So.
That's because you don't have one.
That was our last. I lost my pencil.
Overall, who won?
Live action. I still think I could make the argument that, at least in the story category, that the animation maybe has a leg up just because of some of the stories they tell. Again, I only conceded the point because you kept on making the exact same argument you've made for everything else.
But I agree with you. I mean, here's the thing. We agree. Our whole thing was which one did a better job.
Mm-hmm.
And if it, again, let's go back. If it weren't for the original source material, we wouldn't have any of the rest of it. And you have to give that credit where credit is due. I will say, however, I think when we've said this before, those last 4 episodes of Clone Wars should be a part of a 10-picture Skywalker saga.
Uh-huh.
I've so firmly, the animation has filled in so many gaps of the overall story that it's hard to imagine the Star Wars universe now without the animation.
I would like to point out that animation did take the characters and the quality points. So, yay for animation.
I mean, I'll concede that.
But going back to your point, there are multiple people that have said, let's make episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, in animation so that we can splice in those last 4 episodes of Clone Wars and just have like a big 3-hour,
that would be
3
brilliant.
or 4 hour movies. I'm more than willing to sit through the Lord of the Rings extended editions. I'd be more than willing to sit through Revenge of the Sith extended edition for all intents and purposes.
You wouldn't even have to put it out at the theater. Just release the thing on DVD. We would buy it.
Absolutely. Or, conversely, since we do have most of these characters cast in live action now,
right,
the last 4 episodes, exactly the way they were presented in
Clone
the
Wars.
Animation. Like, just shot for shot, everybody in their places, just make it straight up a live action thing. Again, it would be a 4-hour movie. Again, I would happily watch.
Here's the thing. We love the Star Wars universe.
Every aspect.
We love every aspect. We disagree on some.
Yes.
But I go back to the point that I was introduced to it in 1976.
I was introduced to it in like 2003 when Revenge of the Sith came out.
And there...
Or 2005.
Yeah.
2005.
And there you have it. It is a difference of original...
And what era of Star Wars we grew up in.
Exactly. It's kind of like Bond. Your favorite Bond happens to be the one that you first saw in the theater.
Okay. Anyway, that is it, ladies and gentlemen, here at Crossing Kin under construction garage, with Star Wars Month 2024. How have we done? What did y'all think? What do y'all think? Am I out of my mind for thinking Kevin Kiner holds a candle to John Williams? Probably. Dad definitely thinks I am. Were we crazy for thinking the animated characters have something over the live action characters? Did we confuse you with our categories? Probably. We confused ourselves.
Were we nuts for even doing a versus?
think so. I think this was fun.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, that is it for Star Wars month. I will link a playlist up here or in the little cards at the end to give you all of Star Wars month 2024, and we will be back for Star Wars month 2025.
We're already starting to work on some of the
Oh yeah, we were texting about
episodes.
plans today.
If
So
you have a great idea
that's where I
of
was going
something we
next.
haven't covered in 2023 or 2024 for Star Wars month, an idea perhaps, or a character maybe we haven't drilled down on good enough that we need to spend 20 or 30 minutes talking about.
A what if that you would like me to try to write out and have as bonus episodes. I would love to do that if you can give me a good starting point. So,
And if you've got a great idea for the adventures of Hondo, we would be ready to start production tomorrow.
but feel free to submit your ideas in the comments. Please submit your ideas to our email address. I check that as often as I can. crosskin6496@gmail.com.
Make sure you tell all of your friends about the Crossing Kin videos as well as the Crossing Kin Garage, which is
Under
a work in
construction.
progress.
We might be moving to the Cross and Kin living room, potentially the Cross and Kin car before all's said and done, to film some of these episodes.
Let's face it, we're in the South and it gets hot anyway in the Crossing Kin Garage, so...
See last summer when we filmed a little bit in the Cross and Kin living room. But new videos will be coming soon. We should have a new video next week. And hopefully we will see y'all then. But until next time, I'm Kristen.
I'm Randy.
And from the Cross and Kin Garage, we are signing off.
May the 4th be with you.
May the Force be with you until we meet again. Bye!